Welcome to EHS on Tap. I'm your host, Jay Kumar, editor-in-chief of EHS Leaders. This week I talked to Jackson Phillips, account manager at Matrix Design Group, about what businesses need to know about pedestrian detection systems. This episode is sponsored by Matrix Design Group. Matrix Design Group LLC delivers technology solutions that help industrial operations improve safety, productivity, and operational visibility. Since 2006, Matrix has partnered with customers across mining and industrial markets to develop practical operations-focused technologies that address real-world challenges. A wholly owned subsidiary of Alliance Resource Partners, Matrix offers collision avoidance, proximity detection, equipment monitoring, personnel tracking, and connected data solutions designed to reduce risk and support smarter decisions. Learn more at matrixteam.com. And now, on to the interview.
I'm joined today by Jackson Phillips, account manager with Matrix Design Group. Welcome to the show, Jackson.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
Well, thanks for doing it. Before we start talking a little bit about what you guys do, I was wondering if you could tell me about yourself and Matrix.
Yeah, of course. My name's Jackson Phillips. My history, as far as what I've done, doesn't stem back too far. Graduated from Indiana University in 2023, so go Hoosiers. But around that time frame, I was able to secure an internship with Matrix Design Group. Worked out pretty favorably for me because HQ location for them is just down the road from where I grew up. So I was not only able to spend time with the company that I would inevitably work for full time after college, but spend my last summer in college at home as well, before going into my career. But whenever you look at Matrix Design Group and what it really is and what it stands for, what I like to tell people is it's important to note where it came from, and who it's under. At the end of the day, we're a wholly owned subsidiary of Alliance Resource Partners. Um, that stock symbol is ARLP, if that's something that anybody listening is interested in looking into. But what Alliance is a coal mining company that's got some other interests outside of coal and oil and gas, but primarily it's an underground coal mining company operating primarily out of the Illinois basin and then Appalachia, as do a lot of others. In the late 2000s, Alliance approached Matrix and purchased them outright. At the time, it was really just a group of a couple engineers with controls and automations background that were tasked with supporting underground coal mining operations. What that really inevitably led into, though, was pedestrian detection technology. What that kind of turned into for us was, the reality of the situation is underground coal mining is done in a harsh environment, and in some cases can be dangerous, right? And that wasn't something that Alliance was just willing to settle with, wanted to kind of be a trailblazer and mitigating those fatalities underground. So what Matrix Design Group did was coined a product called IntelliZone, which is underground pedestrian detection. And you fast forward to today, that's something that is mandated by MSHA. And we've got 95% market share in that space. So whenever you've got 95% market share, how do you really set yourself up as a company without just playing support for a historical product, but continuing to expand? And what that led us to was, the same application is needed above ground, but we need to be able to accomplish it a little different in the industrial space than we do underground. So that's what's led us to this conversation today.
Yeah, well, let's talk about it. Why is collision avoidance such a huge issue for warehouses and other industrial operations?
It's something that's always been prevalent, as far back as manufacturing and industrial spaces go. But what we're really seeing the trend become nowadays is so many people have this path to automation, right? And while we here at Matrix think that automation is a great thing, not to get rid of anybody's jobs, but to allow humans to focus on other things in the workplace, right? But what comes with those different components of automation is more infrastructure inside of your facilities.
Mm.
But with that infrastructure expanding inside of a facility, we don't see those facilities expanding in size. So you get more congestion, you get more forklifts operating in closer proximity to people. So we see automation infrastructure expand, but we don't see the buildings housing those things expand, leading to more interaction between powered industrial vehicles and pedestrians on foot traffic.
And obviously, such a huge emphasis now on, warehousing, places like Amazon, and then, opening, huge warehouses all over the place. And there's just such a need for, you know, getting those packages in and out that, I'm sure there's just bound to be, more collisions if something isn't done about it.
Right, right. And those places are expanding all over the country, like you kind of said, and in environments where you're not always just going to get you're not going to get experienced operators all the time either. So, we're getting quicker paced environments, less room to do so with what we would call rookie and younger operators, that haven't been around that machinery for all that long.
So how can a pedestrian detection system help reduce collisions?
So aside from the obvious, which is, make detections integrate into a vehicle and be able to throttle down, slow, or stop that vehicle, the end goal and what you really want to see is interactions maybe not stop taking place, but that trend line really go down,
Hmm.
right? What we would do is, you know, you install a system on a forklift or another powered industrial vehicle, and what you're going to get first is, a lot of interaction between pedestrians and those vehicles, where pedestrians are way too comfortable getting close to vehicles, and vehicles are way too comfortable getting closer to those pedestrians. And so, if there's anything that I know about operators in the industrial space, they're not fans at all of people slowing down their work. By using some sort of throttle integration to be able to slow those vehicles down when a potential interaction is going to take place, what's going to happen on that floor is operators and pedestrians are going to start self-policing the situation. Operators aren't going to be happy by any means that foot traffic is slowing down their work. So what we're going to find is pedestrians are either going to, you know, be aware of their surroundings and the path they're taking throughout the facility, or some testimonies that we've got from some of our current customer base, we find that operators start using paths through a facility that are different than they normally would altogether to avoid where that common foot traffic is taking place. So, like I said, outside of the norm, being able to integrate into that machine and prevent an interaction from taking place before it does, we're really looking for a change of behavior so those potential interactions are less frequent.
And I'm guessing it highlights sort of those high traffic areas that you need to figure out solutions for.
Absolutely. And, a lot of places that we go into right now are, that some of these high traffic areas are prevalent, but it's came at a, well, it is what it is kind
Hmm.
of situation. You've got your shift change, you've got your break room areas, and people just look at that as, this is the layout of our facility and these are things that we have to do. But what we can really do via a kind of heat zone map is let you
Hmm.
know where are the majority of my interactions happening and what time of day. And what you will find is closer to those break rooms and closer to where employees are entering and exiting those buildings. Those are where a lot of your interactions are going to happen, that or on shipping docks.
So, if a business is considering adopting one of these systems, what are some things that they just need to kind of, consider, I guess, before they get into that?
Yeah, so, it becomes kind of a complex approach when you start looking at an enterprise organization being able to adopt this across their entire fleet from location to location and from different vehicle to different vehicle. Um, and some of the things that we like to tell people that they need to consider is, what's your current structure? What are what does your mixed fleet look like? What all specific OEMs are you running? And what are all the different environments that you have in place right now? Um, because what's going to happen is we're approached by people that inevitably want to reach the same goal, but there are different sets of criteria that they want to hit on the way to get there, right? So we really need a good picture of what does a company look like, and we need that company to know what do its own environments look like as well, so we can kind of come up with a realistic approach to not only how long is something going to take, but how effective are we going to be in the short term? And one thing that I consider the most important thing, for a company to take into play is, this is not something that is just going to be plug and play across your entire fleet, right? We can come in and we can do an install on every single one of your forklifts, no problem. But if we don't have some kind of validation or standard configuration minimum, that is going to be set by corporate, it's hard to really grade how successful we are as a project whenever you have different locations and different forklifts with configurations that are designed to accomplish different goals. Right. So we really have to walk these enterprise organizations in slowly and kind of guide them through the process of validating and trialing the system to reach, what are you trying to do with pedestrian detection? Figure that out on a couple different forklifts in a couple different environments. That way, when we're ready to go full scale, we can truly copy and paste what we've done, on previous installations. And that way, the data actually means something to these organizations as well.
What's the best way to get top end adoption?
So, to get top end adoption, and not just that top end piece, you really got to understand, what does each level of stakeholder want? Um, your operators, who we consider to be one of the most important variables in this project, they're worried about nuisance alerts. We don't need to be a system that is going to go off all the time for unneeded reasons. We need to only prevent interaction when it's absolutely necessary. Your EHS managers on site want to be able to see that we are preventing interactions and that those interactions are trending downward. And then at the top, what they want to see is that their interactions from a company as a whole are trending down. But not only that, not to say that your top level executives aren't concerned about, potentially hitting anyone or accidents taking place, but there are implications that they have to deal with for things like that taking place, that, are monetarily valuable. And so what they really want to understand is, what is the ROI behind a system like this? And what we've been able to understand is, what are the total cost of accidents incurred in the United States per year, on a forklift, of classes 1, 4, and 5. And we see that fall on average in between that 27 and $28 billion range, in terms of fines. So whenever you take a number like that and you kind of spread that out across how many forklifts exist, in the United States, what you're really getting by installing an OmniPro system or any kind of AI pedestrian detection system is a cost savings of $4,600 per year per machine. So while these are technologies like this can be expensive, there's really a 2-year life cycle prior to it paying itself off. And then, every year after that, it's a $4,600 saving.
You mentioned earlier just the importance of getting everyone on board. Um, how what's the best way to get operators on board with a new system?
We've got to take into account what our operators are comfortable with. And what I mean by that is whenever you look inside of a facility, you're going to have operators ranging from people that have maybe been on a truck for a week and then people that have potentially driven a truck for 30 years as a career. All of those people have different experiences. All of them are going to react to a system like ours differently. But we need to weight all of their opinions the exact same. We need to be able to deliver a system that is only going to slow them down when it's absolutely necessary. Because what's going to end up happening, and we consider, operator success and buy-in one of the most key variables that we're dependent on to be successful in an enterprise, is if an operator does not like our system and your facility's productivity is dependent on an operator, you're going to end up with unhappy operators. So we need to be able to be a system that we get true operator buy-in and understanding that we're only acting as an extra set of eyes for you. We're not here to take autonomy away from you. We are here to make your life easier and give you visibility into parts of your warehouse that you're not able to see sitting in the cab of a forklift normally because you have a mast in your way, which is already your biggest obstruction. So making these operators feel as though they're the true decision maker in the process, and this isn't something that is just being driven down by corporate with standards. That's something that we look at as really early phase approach, the most important thing.
How long does it typically take for operators to get the hang of the system once it's installed?
Not too terribly long. What we like to do is, when we're there doing an installation, we look at installation as installation, commissioning, and training. So we like to spend time with all of the operators prior to ever getting on an AI equipped vehicle to let them know what to really expect from the system. These are the visual and audible cues that you're going to get. This is what you're going to feel when a potential interaction is alerted on. It's a little different. If we come in and we set a configuration standard across the fleet and we have time to talk to those operators, they're usually pretty quick to adopt it within a week. Those first kind of zone configuration changes that might take place with any given customer are usually driven by the operators giving feedback on what they're seeing. So I don't know that the question is, how long does it take for them to get comfortable with it? Or how long does it take for them to adopt the system and take ownership over its functionality,
Mhm.
right? And the second piece of that, we can usually accomplish that within a week of an installation.
So pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Um, so obviously, this is some pretty, high end technology. Um, what does the future look like for pedestrian detection systems? Do you expect the technology to continue to evolve?
We do. And this is something that, you know, your phone continually gets updated, right? It gets better through upgrades that maybe Apple or whoever is pushing out. We look at it the same kind of way. We're a system that our engineers are constantly working to make our AI recognition model better. We push out updates. We don't do it too often. Um, but this is something that down the road, we don't look at AI pedestrian detection as something that's going to be standalone, right? We're kind of on the verge of that sensor fusion piece where, you layer AI camera vision with radar components to be
Mhm.
able to prevent facility infrastructure damage as well. But Matrix is one of those companies that's, we're seated in a unique position that we don't just own the development and manufacturing of our hardware. We own the development and manufacturing of the software as well. So as customers, approach us and say, it's great that you guys were able to deliver X and Y, but it'd be real cool if it was able to do Z. We are a partner and customer driven company. So it's really going to be up to the market on what does that next space look like? What do our cameras and technology need to be able to accomplish? Well, how are these conversations going to change over the next 2 years as there are different requests being made? And we'll field all of those things and be able to develop what the market's looking for.
Yeah, what kind of feedback have you gotten so far just from folks who have adopted the system?
Feedback that we've gotten so far is, we see not only do we have image data captured of OmniPro preventing potential fatalities or accidents taking place, but we have a lot of operators using different paths throughout their facility. This is something that, with a couple of our customers, we've been told, hey, we have operators that won't get on any of our vehicles unless it's equipped with AI because they've had incidents where the cameras have kept them from hitting people or other objects. So we've really seen full scale adoption with a few customers, which kind of points to the idea that this isn't something that is just a trend, it's here to stay. But where is it going to go beyond where we currently see it?
Well, Jackson, I want to thank you for joining me today. This has been great.
Yeah, Jay, thank you for having me.
That wraps up episode 308 of EHS on Tap. Thanks again to Matrix Design Group for sponsoring the episode. You can find more information about the show and listen to on-demand episodes at ehsleaders.org. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get podcasts. Thanks for listening, and I hope you join me next time.